Welcome in, McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We've got Bill Connolly coming up in 15 minutes. We are going to get a little bit of a statistical analysis on this past college football season. Why what Indiana did was so impressive. When you look back on it, Greg, it's been a couple days now. As it is Thursday, January 22nd, right here on Jocks. Appreciate you all tuning in to this college football season. I want to have a bit of a review of all of it today. Maybe some favorite plays, favorite moments, things that will be remembered most about this college football season. But specifically with Indiana, when you just look at the how and the why, something stuck out to me yesterday. We spoke to Brandon Marcello about who could maybe be next, and he mentioned teams like Florida with his who might be next, and John Summerall. We love John Summerall. We think he'll be great. That's not what I meant at all, though, when I asked the question. I mean, Indiana came from the doldrums of college football, the basement, the cellar of college football. That would not be Florida if they find a way to win a national title, let's say, in the next 3 years or just get to the playoffs. Do you see any team that can come close to sort of the resurrection, turnaround, rise to where Indiana has now gotten? And let's just leave out the national title, just to get into national prominence the way that Kurt Cignetti has done with Indiana. Is there anybody that you look at and say, I could see that happening for them?
No, I mean, I'm sure there is. I mean, it just depends a little bit on, it depends a little bit on having the stars align a bit. I mean, let's not deny the fact that this is a process that was very, very well executed and a plan that was well executed, but also at the same time, like, you got to have the ball bounce your way a couple times.
Sure.
And so it requires a little bit of luck. It requires some guys punching above their weight class. It requires having a gettable schedule to create some momentum. Like, there's a lot of things that factor into this. So it's
all of college football. Does Kurt Cignetti go and do this at Indiana if it's 10 years ago college football?
No, gosh, no. Absolutely not.
So the new era, the new way of thinking also assisted greatly. The new way that college football operates assisted greatly with them being able to do this. But as I've told you, one of the things that I find very intriguing is if you look at this Indiana model, it's easy to like.
It's easy to love. It's great.
But you tell me, maybe your conversations have been a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
I have not talked to many coaches that have said, that's the way we need to do it. That's the way we're going to do it. The majority of the coaches at big programs that I still talk to, no, we're going heavy high school recruiting. We're still going to recruit mostly through high school. We want to develop those kids we bring in through high school.
Right.
And there's a part of me, not all of me, there's a part of me that kind of rolls my eyes like, man, how can you not see what they're doing and say, this is the way? I'm not trying to go full Mandalorian here, but
Whoa.
That feels...
You've seen that?
I work for Disney.
That is out of character, but go ahead. I didn't mean to throw you off the rails.
It's okay.
When you start dropping Star Wars references in your deal, I'm very proud of you.
I grew up a Star Wars fan.
Okay. I just didn't see that coming. I've caught me off guard a bit. All right, go ahead.
I have to talk about every day, but
it's not something you're proud of.
Well, no, and I actually attempted to. I introduced it to my kids.
Yeah.
They didn't really buy into it. They're not like in love with it. Now, we did the whole Star Wars land or whatever at Disney. Like, they thought it was cool. They loved the rides, and they've seen it once or twice, and they're like, yeah, it's cool, but they don't need to go back to it. They're into other things. So
love it.
But yeah, I watched the series, and it was fine. It was good. I enjoyed most of it.
All right, I didn't mean to throw you off.
It's okay.
Go ahead.
It's fine.
That caught me really off guard.
I guess the main question here is there a team that it looks like things are coming together for, or some of the inner workings and how it could go that you could see taking this path? And do you feel the same way to me as being surprised that more coaches are not looking at what Indiana has done and saying, maybe not even fully do that, but do more of that and be more like that to try to get to where they are right now?
I'm about to pull some rosters. That's tough. The SEC, I think it's really hard to do. Because I think in the SEC, you become enamored a little more with star power. I mean, that's the nature of the game. Like if you look at SEC rosters, they're comprised of great talent and not necessarily always great teams, but great talent. So I have a hard time envisioning it happening in the SEC anytime soon, unless all of a sudden one of these coaches decides, say, you know what, we're going to make it more about the sum is greater than each individual part. Have you ever seen anyone try to approach it that way in the SEC outside of Vanderbilt last year?
Not really.
No.
But Vanderbilt, if you really look at it, probably took more of the Indiana blueprint than any other team the last 5-6 years we've seen, because what did they do? They went and got a bunch of guys that had played for Jerry Kill and Tim Beck with Diego Pavia.
Yeah.
So you go get a couple linemen, you go get a running back, you had your tight end and quarterback that played together. So there's a little bit of continuity built in, similar to the JMU model with what Signetti did.
Yeah.
And then you go get some offensive linemen that have played a ton of football. And you go get some other guys, some other pieces to kind of plug here and there that have played a lot of football.
Right.
And now that's leading to bringing in 5-star quarterback, getting a couple other, really good younger recruits. But I don't think they're going to start saying, hey, we're going heavy high school recruiting here. Like
no.
They know they're not going to be able to win that way. But that blueprint actually feels a little bit closer to what Indiana has done than a lot of other SEC programs.
For sure.
Done.
But what's the difference? What's the difference between Vanderbilt and every other school in the SEC?
They can't get those high school players that we're talking about.
And?
Getting into school?
No. Yes. No. No.
My understanding is that they've made some adjustments there that haven't necessarily gotten public.
I believe that, but there's one significant difference about Vanderbilt than every other school in the SEC.
Traditionally have not been good?
Close, but no. There's several schools that fall under that umbrella. No disrespect.
You're going to have to give that to me.
Okay, I'll give it to you because I don't think you would have gotten there anyways, but I just wanted to hear some of your guesses that made them different. Vanderbilt has a really, really nice fan base. But let's be real. They are not living and dying by Vanderbilt football. They are not parading the message boards, whining, complaining, irritated about how many stars does this guy have? Are we ever going to get a player? Oh, gosh, this coach needs to go. He clearly doesn't know how to recruit. They don't have an outspoken fan base. So, therefore, they are not going to sit there and judge and micromanage and in the court of public opinion undercut their coach because they're going to go out and recruit who they want to recruit. That's the difference. If at Alabama they would have said, hey, guys, we got this guy coming in. Oh, you got to see this guy from New Mexico State. Oh, gosh. Guess what they would have said? Get DeBoer out of here. He doesn't know how to win in the South. That's what we would have said. But in Vanderbilt, their fans are like, it's fine. Go do your thing. It's all good. Probably better than what we've had. We'll take it. That's the difference. That's the difference. And they're the only school in the SEC that can operate that way. That includes Kentucky. That includes South Carolina. Even the schools that have not traditionally won very much, they're the only one that can do it. Agree or disagree?
No, I agree. And I maybe we look at the SEC teams that we think could be able to do this, would want to do this, how it could be done. Does it need to be done that way? Because I agree with you, and I've said that I think maybe the biggest problem with this, as far as an SEC team or some SEC teams implementing this plan, is what you brought up a little bit earlier, and that is this mindset of, and it starts with a lot of the fan base. And I think then it goes to some of the people in the building, maybe not even the people doing all the recruiting, but just the people, the administration around the program of, and maybe now even some of the supporters, be it a collective, be it a donor. We've got to get the highest profile players. We need the 5-star, 4-star guys. Why? I don't want glue guy. I don't want hard hat guy.
Right.
We want 4-star guy.
100%.
We want elite talent guy.
So we've been brainwashed. That's the only way you win.
Yes. And so that's why I wonder why no one can see it, that it can work the other way. I guess my issue with this is I wonder why so many people look at Indiana as this perfect storm.
They are a bit, though. Doesn't mean that it can't be redone. It just that was a unique.
There's no doubt that parts of it have to come together, as you stated.
Correct.
But there's also part of the way they did it that you look at and say, that might be a tad more sustainable than just chasing Johnny 5-star.
Totally fair. Answer me this. Honest question here. God's honest truth. From an Auburn fan's perspective, I know the football fan. I know the football mind, the guy that could go coach college football. I know your football mind. Remove that for a minute. Give me fandom. Give me Johnny Wardy. All right. Jackson Arnold or Fernando Mendoza going into the portal last year. Go. This is, you're on the back of the golden eagle here. You're on the back of the bald eagle that circles, or a Thor or whatever his name is.
Thor. I'm trying not to be contrarian and overly detail oriented, but number one, what offense are we running?
Hughes.
If we need heavy quarterback run, then it would probably be Jackson Arnold. But I think
Hughes offense.
Mendoza could get away with
it. We are
as well.
Pretend that we are on. It is January 22nd.
I know it's an impossible
2025.
task now because of what we've seen.
It is not, though.
But you and I.
It's not an impossible task because you know the answer.
You're not going to believe me, but I would have said Fernando Mendoza then.
I believe you.
And
I don't believe that that's your fan base.
The reason being, we sat here on this show and said, folks, he cannot let go of the football. Not throws interceptions, not can't read a defense. He can't let go of the ball. Like, that was a massive problem. And a problem that does not allow a lot of plays to get started, by the way. When the ball can't come out of your hand. We knew there was going to be issues there. Now, could you coach some out of it? Maybe. It didn't work. Didn't happen. Can Dan Mullen? We'll see. That's a lot. There's a lot last year. It's going to be a lot this year.
Yeah.
But I know Fernando Mendoza came down to Auburn, and even though probably didn't throw a pass more than 20 yards in the air in that game, picked a pretty good defense apart.
Did.
Just, and it was kind of like, man, something to that kid.
100% there was. And you watched the game, and you're like, all right, I like him. I really liked him against Miami. That was my okay, I like this kid. I didn't think he was going to be a Heisman Trophy winner.
Sure.
But I can tell you this. If I were to present last year in January, hey, guys, in the portal, you can have one of two guys. You can have Jackson Arnold or Fernando Mendoza. I would be willing to bet thousands of dollars that a majority of Auburn fans would have said Jackson Arnold. Why? 5-star. Oklahoma messed him up. I would be willing to bet every dollar I have right now in my wallet, which is probably about $17. Yep. 18.
High roller.
Thousands down to 17.
High roller.
Confidence.
Well, I'd have to go to the ATM and probably take and I'll refi my house, but I feel confident that I will get that money back because I know the answer to that question. You and I both know if we were to put a poll out right now or put a poll out a year ago today between Fernando Mendoza or Jackson Arnold, which one do you think Auburn would have gone with? And it's, by the way, it's not Auburn's fault there.
No, there's a lot of fault that would roll into that.
No, it would just be the fact that we are in the Southeastern Conference wired, and we have been told you can't win without 4- and 5-star talent. You have to have it. That's the only chance you have in this league, especially. Whereas in the Big Ten, Iowa has been a really steady program for a really long time and has seldom had 4- and 5-star talent. Minnesota's been a perennial bowl team. I mean, these are teams that are not recruiting like wildfire, like gangbusters. And guess what? Their fan base is like, we want hardworking guys that are going to go out and represent our program. Whereas in the SEC, it's an arms race. It's an arms race. And that's okay. But the reality is we need to reset our thinking, and it's going to take a while. Things don't happen overnight. I mean, it's taken cryptocurrency 15 years to become somewhat, quote, mainstream. Like, it takes time. Getting people to change the way they think is like turning a cargo vessel. Do you not agree?
Yes, and I don't know if that ever is going to change, by the way.
It probably won't, because guess what? I am knowledgeable, you are knowledgeable, and I'm refreshing the portal every 10 seconds on Bama whatever, like hoping a 4-star landed. Like, and I'm the one that's telling them we shouldn't care about stars, and yet I am finding myself rooting for 4-star guys to consider Bama in the portal.
Well, we talk more about offensive line play than any show in America. We didn't even get excited about Vanderbilt's gets this past year.
No.
Like the kid from Liberty, I was like, he's a solid player. Yeah, and he's
fine.
You know, he's played with the center. They'll have a little continuity there. The big tackle that they got, okay, like good. And that group was twice, two, three, 4 times better than they were the year before.
I know.
Which is essentially what you're trying to accomplish with the model that we're discussing. And I don't know if the guys are scared that they can't find the personalities that they would need.
Yeah.
And like talking to Brett Bielema at the bowl game, we had a great conversation with him about, because I asked him, he's going through all these guys and I'm watching him play. I'm like, hard hat guy, man. Like, this dude plays his rear end off. He's obviously a step slower than other people his position. How do you find these guys? Like, and some of it too has got to be him in the program. And if you want to call it culture, whatever. Because, like, you talk to Luke Altmaier now versus what I heard about Luke Altmaier when he was in Oxford.
Yep.
Literally, Asia and South America, like that far apart, is how far apart they are. Like, it's like totally different continents of human beings.
Right.
So part of it is what he's doing to them. But we were like, how do you get these guys that just want to do it the old-fashioned way, that don't complain, that don't need the ball 20 times a game? He said, man, it's hard. It's speed dating. And he goes, I have 4 or 5 questions that I ask every kid that can at least give me a little bit of a window into who they are, how they operate, what they do. It was cool. He said, one of them is, I ask every kid, how do you get your name? How'd you get your name? Like, Greg, how'd you get Greg? Like, John, how'd you get John? And he said, 60, 70% of them, I don't know. Mom, dad gave it to me.
Yeah.
He's like, but the ones that have a story, now the door's open.
Right.
And they give me grandfather, family history, named after dad's friend, whatever that is. He's like, now the conversation's going. And the ones that don't even know, they remember that I asked them that. So they'll go back and ask their mom or dad, hey, did this come from, is there anything we need? No. Okay. But then they remember that we talked about it.
Right.
So like I'm in and the ball's rolling.
100%.
So, but he still said, I still don't know a lot of times if I'm getting that guy in.
Yeah.
I mean, Signetti, the guys from JMU, yes, he knew. You know, you don't know what you're getting. And I think that might be part of the fear, Greg, is in order to do that, you do have to get certain guys mentally and emotionally from a behavioral pattern, from a demeanor, a makeup. And maybe the fear is we don't have enough time to know if we're getting that guy.
Yeah.
So therefore, if we're banking X amount of percentage of our program having to have that,
we better bank it on the talent.
It's too risky. It's too risky.
We better bank it on the talent. Guess what? That's why I'm not going to sit there and disregard talent. It's not like talent is still the ultimate indicator of future success. No one pushes back on that. But now more than ever, you have to find the hungry talent. That is a hard thing to do.
Difficult.
So you're 100% right. Like, yeah, all right, I might not. I have 36 hours to get to know this kid, decide if we want him or not. I don't know his family history. I don't know how much he loves ball. I don't know all this stuff. All I know is he better not be entitled, and that's a hard thing to figure out in 36 hours.
No doubt. All right, we'll continue talking building a championship team. Where's it going? How's it going to go in the future? Bill Connolly gives us a little bit of a statistical analysis on how that might be done moving forward. Next, right here on Jocks. Stephen Pearl, Auburn head basketball coach, coming up at 8:20 today. The coach, Wim Sanderson, at 9. I guess you say we begin to shift into a little bit of college basketball mode, as Stephen's father used to always make fun of us for. I think Bruce used to always get the call the day after the national championship game. Hey, you want to hop on the show? He would always give me a hard time. Oh, I guess it is that time, isn't it? But we will focus just a little more attention on college hoops.
It's fair. It's fair. It does take us a while to get there, but in fairness, we do pride ourselves on covering it the best way we can, and it just takes a little time to get there.
Yeah, we're moving there now.
We're
Flu
there.
season is also moving in. Make your home healthier with Trained Clean Effects Home Air Cleaner. Removes up to 99.9% of airborne particles, including those that cause virus. 100 times more effective than standard air filters. 8 times more effective than HEPA room filters. Find a dealer near you at train.com. It's hard to stop a train. All right, Bill Connolly joining us now on the Higginbotham hotline of ESPN. Obviously, statistically puts different things together throughout the course of the season, preseason, to give us an idea of how and why things are happening. What is the biggest oddity that you have found about how Indiana has done what they have done? Because, Bill, we've been having the discussion before you joined us of how most coaches are not buying into this. Most coaches are still stuck in, we're going traditional high school recruiting. We got to go get 4 and 5 stars. We're going to develop through our program instead of sort of the Indiana mindset. And I just think it's wild that more people don't look at it and say, we're going to try to do that. When you look at the numbers around this team, what sticks out the most?
Yeah, I mean, you think about what goes into the preseason SP Plus projections. Recent history, Indiana stunk for most of recent history. Recruiting rankings are a piece of there. Indiana has like 8% blue chippers on the roster. And then recent performance, which had, recent history, recruiting rankings, and returning production, which Indiana had plenty of. But it was. What was so funny is, like, I think every college football writer on the planet has spent the last couple of months especially trying to figure out something unique to say about Indiana. And there's nothing unique to say. They just identified talent really well and developed it really well and deployed it tactically very, very well, and just had all the right pieces in all the right places. And it sounds super easy, and there was clearly nothing extremely easy about it, or a bunch of teams would have done it. So the lesson for other coaches seems to just be really good at your job. And that's pretty hard in and of itself, I guess.
It's amazing how, and I think, Bill, you do a great job kind of categorizing talent. I don't know how it factors into S&P Plus projections, but we've been talking for a while about the quote blue chip ratio that several other places have used. And I know that S&P and FPI, all those things factor in recruiting. How do you do that when really a lot of it is at this point, after evaluating Indiana, maybe it doesn't matter quite as much?
Yeah, I think basically, heading into this year, the last couple of years, I guess, the ratio or how you evaluate recruiting rankings has changed a little bit in terms of what goes into SP Plus. And so a lot of it in a given year is based on the transfers you bring, both like the production they've proven to have, and then like the rankings they've been assigned either from 247's transfer rankings or whatever. So that part, the freshman recruiting aspect of it, it'll get incorporated more 2 or 3 years down the road. But in a given year, your transfer haul matters the most now. That's what I've kind of learned for how to make the best projection. So in that sense, like Indiana, their recruiting element wasn't all that bad because they obviously signed a pretty good transfer class, if not an absolutely enormous one. So I mean, they were still projected around 20th, 21st, I think, in SP Plus. They obviously overachieved that, but this wasn't because they had already done well last year. This wasn't an absolute ridiculous Leicester City style out of nowhere kind of rise. We just didn't expect them to not only back up what they did last year, but improve on it. That part was still a pretty big surprise.
Bill Connolly joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, projecting the 2026 college football playoff bracket. That is up at ESPN.com now. You give yourself rules and guidelines to follow as to how you decide who you think is going to be in this next year. I love your SEC champion rule. It has to be won by Kirby Smart or a coach that proved he can beat Kirby Smart. That would make a lot of people angry with how they're projecting things already because Texas would be out, and that would not be the Texas Longhorns, who a lot of people are just placing as the SEC champion now. By my count, that leaves Kalen DeBoer, That leaves
Yep.
Shane Beamer. That leaves Lane Kiffin. Is there anybody that I'm missing from the SEC that has proven they can defeat Kirby Smart?
Pete Golding, technically.
There
So
you
Ole
go.
Miss is
There you go.
eligible. He's 1-0. He's unbeaten against Kirby Smart. Yeah. So I mean, basically, I do like this approach. We have Schleybaugh way too early that comes out right after the title game. Just kind of lays out kind of just how we're thinking about the hierarchy, and then I tried to come in and do something a little different. Yeah, like with the SEC until Sark can beat Kirby, we don't know that Texas is ever going to be ready. So let's stick to who we know can beat Kirby, and in this case, I just went with Georgia as the champ for the third straight year. Big risk there. Texas is going to be interesting though, because obviously, heading into the season, nobody really knew who was going to be awesome. Everybody had a new quarterback, it seemed like, and we ended up in a situation where Arch Manning was the preseason Heisman favorite, the least proven by far preseason Heisman favorite that there's ever been. Like the only one who had career passing yardage that low was Tua, but Tua had at least won the national title the year before and thrown the biggest pass of the 2010s basically. So he was extremely unproven and looked it, and that's going to spark, like, Texas heads into next season with a ton of returning production, or at least compared to everybody else. Arch did prove himself. He was number one in total QBR from November on. And every time we mention Texas potentially being good, it's just going to be a huge reaction of, oh, here we go again, and that's going to be an interesting dynamic all off season.
But now that you see a team like Texas that feels like they're going all in, like we've seen it work.
Yeah.
With Ohio State last year, Michigan the year before. I don't think Indiana necessarily qualifies, even though they had some nice key additions, but I wouldn't put them under that category. But the teams I would put under that category this past year are Clemson and Penn State. Meanwhile, both those teams fall apart, relatively speaking. So how do you assess a team that maybe seems to go all in, but might not have that year-over-year continuity?
Yeah, it does. And you can really kind of throw in an Ole Miss from 24 in there as well.
Yeah, there you go. Good call.
Really loading up, and they had an awesome team. But, whether we're talking about Penn State this year or Ole Miss last year or Clemson this year, they all – it felt like, going all in that way, it just added an extra element of pressure. And even Ohio State in 24 didn't handle that pressure well. They just, they got the mulligan and got themselves right for the playoff. Otherwise, they felt they were, it was major existential crisis going on at the end of that regular season. So it does feel like when you kind of make your intentions that well known or, that open, there's the extra level of pressure involved really seems to kind of make teams fold a little bit. So it'll be, Texas, play Ohio State early. They're going to be good. They're going to probably have enough wins on their schedule to get either, into the playoff or borderline playoff. And I guess it just depends on once you get there, what happens. But man, yeah, it has been, the track record of all in teams here has not been very good.
Who's been the biggest mover when you begin to put things together for next year based on what has already happened in the portal? And I know it's odd to say that because we're talking about Indiana and continuity and leadership and these hard hat guys, and then portal oftentimes is just, okay, who's collecting the best talent, and then can they find a way to make that work together? But with how you view things, who's the team that you look at most different now based on what they've done in this portal cycle?
Well, it is funny with all the kind of the public failures that Lane Kiffin was working through when he first got there, and he didn't get the Ole Miss guys that he expected and all that. They still have they're bringing in a ton of guys, and every single time I look at their list, I'm like, oh yeah, the Hawaii receiver was awesome. I see somebody new that I didn't realize that he had even added at that point. So it does feel like he had a ton of work to do, and he did a ton of work, and that's going to make LSU a really interesting team. You figure first year, massive turnover. It's hard to think that, somebody's going to pull a Signetti there, but it is at least a possibility, and he's done a lot of the work he needed to do. Otherwise, Texas is right up there. They really have tried to load up. Ohio State has done some pretty, impressive things, and I'm really curious about Texas Tech's offering of transfers this time. It seems like their defense is going to take a step backwards, but they might actually have the offense they needed to have this year. So that's going to be really interesting to watch too.
Very interesting. What do you, when you see a high level transfer quarterback, how does that factor into your metrics? a la a Sam Levitt, a la a Brennan Sorsby, a la a Darian Mensah. Too soon,
Mensa,
perhaps.
apparently.
But when you look at that, how much does having a game-changing veteran transfer quarterback factor into how you evaluate the team next year?
Well, it is going to factor into that recruiting piece, like I was talking about, just the fact that the transfer class matters so much in that regard. But it also, returning production formula, a lot of it is the quarterback position. And if you lose a 3,000-yard passer, but you bring in a 3,500-yard passer, then obviously that's going to offset that a good amount, and you're going to kind of dodge that bullet, so to speak, in terms of losing a known producer. So that's from a pure technical standpoint. That's how it factors into SP Plus. And so somebody like Sorsby, I mean, maybe Tech doesn't get they'll get a recruiting boost, I guess, but really his stats are going to mostly offset what they lose in Morton. So it won't make a huge difference there. But also Tech was already a top 5 team this year, so they, if nothing else, that'll probably prevent them from falling too far when I get to the SP Plus projections in February. So yeah, it kind of, there are two different ways for a big time transfer to work its way into SP Plus, and it's in both the returning production and recruiting parts.
I imagine, and Bill Connolly with us on the Higginbotham Hotline, you can go find his article up now at ESPN.com projecting the 2026 college football playoff bracket. The group of 5, which is what I'm still going to call them, I know we change that every year, I feel like, but the G6, whatever it is, has to be more difficult to look at and try to have any idea of what it's going to be now than ever. Is there a team, though, that you have seen the way that they have been built? Coaching continuity, staff continuity probably makes that very difficult as well, because those best teams, oftentimes the Kurt Signettis and the John Summeralls, are moving on. But is there 1-2 that you look at going into this year and say, I got a really good feeling about where that team could be and could be very competitive against the Power 5 if they were to be put in that playoff setting?
Yeah, it is so hard when you can tell that the power conference teams just kind of look at, James Madison was good, all right, North Texas. Well, I guess North Texas is kind of a weird case with Eric Morris going to OSU, but it's really tricky because somebody's going to have talent, somebody's going to have a lot, end up playing at a top 30 kind of level, but they lose so much from year to year that it's hard to tell for sure. So I end up kind of just leaning on the reliables, like Billy Napier was an interesting hire at James Madison. I liked that they were kind of the team that just hired the next big up-and-coming FCS guy there for a couple of cycles, but they went with the guy who built a juggernaut at Louisiana, especially in the trenches, and so I kind of get it from that standpoint. If that change works, like James Madison has now survived a couple coaching changes and just continued to get better. It was kind of, honestly, pretty Boise State-ish in that regard. We were kind of convinced that nobody can pull a Boise State now, but they're kind of doing it to a certain degree. They just have to nail this hire, and if Napier's the guy who can make them really good in the trenches, then kind of think JMU's going to be good or continue to be kind of a top 30 level team. Otherwise, yeah, like Tulane, lots of turnover. I didn't necessarily love that coaching hire. East Carolina, I thought I was going to love, but obviously losing their quarterback is a little tricky. I just go with the tried and trues, I think, more than anything. So I guess that means Boise State and JMU at this point.
And finally, Bill, when you look at the adjustments to the playoff that feel inevitable, maybe not this year, whether it's 16 or God forbid, 24. Gosh, I hope we don't get there. But it's beside the point. How much longer do you anticipate a team like a JMU, like a Tulane, like some of these other programs, how much longer will they be able to keep up? Like, has the gap widened with your evaluations of these teams and how competitive they might be with the top of the sport?
Yeah, it kind of has. Just in that, like Boise State managed a couple single-digit SP Plus rankings back in the day, and then other really successful mid-major programs got called up to the power conferences. So it's definitely a different landscape. I just, I don't think we've seen all the growth that a program that JMU can do. I think they could become, with the way that talent is distributed at the top now, where all we talk about is the parity between about 1 and 15. I do think a JMU type of story could still get to that kind of 15 to 20 range at worst. And so that's not as good as Boise, but it's still good, and I think there's still so many success stories right now with programs using the portal and figuring out how to get a bunch of first year guys to play at a high level. I still think there's a decent ceiling there. It's just like I can't remember where Boise State peaked in SP Plus, like sixth. I think it's hard to imagine JMU or somebody finishing sixth. They can still finish 16th, and give them enough chances, they'll pull an upset at some point in the playoffs. So yeah, it's not as good as it used to be, but I don't think it's as bad as we sometimes paint it either.
Absolutely. Bill, great stuff, man. Thanks for hopping on with us. Always appreciate the time, and you've given us some hope looking ahead to 2026. It's not that far away, so thank you.
That's right. Absolutely. Take care.
All right, Bill Connolly joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, talking about 2026 college football season, where some teams may fall, what some teams may look like, who you should potentially be excited about and paying attention to. We'll follow up on all of that next right here on Jocks. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Glad you're with us. Appreciate you tuning in. We've been talking how to build college football teams. Bill Connolly giving us a little bit more of a statistical analysis on the best ways that teams are trying to do that moving into next season. Greg and I kind of going back and forth on why some teams haven't been doing it one way, haven't started to shift towards the Indiana model just a little bit. It's one that's difficult for a lot of reasons. And not a lot of coaches want to move to that yeah, let's go get the attitude guy, the hard hat guy. Let's go get the team oriented guy, because you just don't have time to figure out if that's who that individual is going to be when you're trying to recruit them and bring them in. And as Greg said, the better fallback plan is just get the talent. Just get the guys that you know at least can run, can jump, can overpower people, and then you'll try to figure the rest out. If you are trying to move from one place to another, though, Greg, who should you call?
Maybe Crocker Moving Services, a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys. And you can trust them in your home. Let your whole home pack to move your company headquarters, route across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room. They got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you've purchased and need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website's CrockerMovingServices.com. That's CrockerMovingServices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
Let's go to OTB, who wants to discuss how you build college football teams. OTB, welcome in. OTB, are you with us? Doesn't sound like it. Windshield wipers are
OTB
working.
or Paul? Paul? You guys like about Paul?
Paul.
You, yes.
Oh, hey, yeah. Hey, guys. Good morning. Good to hear you. I'm not OTB, but I can be. Hey, question regarding the stars. Who determines the star rating? How is that objectively or subjectively determined?
You talking about by the services?
No, so you guys were talking about the star ratings: 3 stars, 4-star, 5-star guys. Who scores these guys? Who determines that score that is published or determined to whether we're going to bring a guy on or not? And
I think it's the people who work for
the 3, 4, 5-star guys.
Yeah, the people who work for the recruiting services. So, like for ESPN, Tom Luganbill is going to be one of those guys. I know Cooper Patinga is going to be one of those guys for On3, but I couldn't give you the list of all the guys that are doing that all the different places. I would have no idea at who all those individuals are.
There's a bunch of people that weigh in on that. I mean, I do think that the amount of stars you receive are heavily influenced by the schools that are recruiting you. Like that's been proven. If you are, for example, being recruited by Nick Saban, there's no chance you get less than a 4-star. Unless for whatever reason, Nick Saban only offers you really late in the process, because they knew Nick Saban would be in the mix for a national championship every year, thus proving the importance of the star rankings. And when Alabama is playing for a national title, they can carry the banner and say, oh, see, it's because they have all these players that we ranked 4-star or better. So it is an inexact science, but what it is, I mean, a lot of it is marketing. A lot of it is playing the hits for the programs that buy the most subscriptions. These are not free services. These are purchased and paid for in an effort to drum up interest. And I think it serves a real need for college football. But I think if you ask any coach that's worth their salt, they're not refreshing Rivals, ESPN, 247, On3. They're not refreshing those stars and their player list in order to put together their recruiting board. Like they're doing it on their own.
Yeah, it depends on the service, number one, because there's different people at different services that are going to do it. And we don't know the names of all of those. We know the name of some of those, but it ebbs and flows. And some of those don't even work at the same places from year to year. So it's different, obviously, from one year to the next. Continue talking college football throughout the course of the show, but we need to go to college basketball when we come back. A new player on an SEC roster this weekend. We'll discuss it right after this on Jocks. All right, so we mentioned this story a little bit yesterday. It's 7:50 Thursday, January 22nd, right here on Jocks. New players in new places. Now, through the transfer portal and college football, these are things that we talk about a lot. According to Jeff Goodman, who will join our show tomorrow at 9 a.m., he tweets out 11 hours ago, Alabama coach Nate Oates plans to play Charles Bediako on Saturday at home against Tennessee. Bediako, we mentioned yesterday, received a temporary restraining order by a judge earlier today to be eligible. That was yesterday. Expected to arrive in Tuscaloosa today. As we stayed on the show yesterday, I saw him play in the Squadron game last Saturday night. Played in game professional basketball. Now, for those that may not be aware, this situation is not a standalone deal. This has happened in a lot of other places. You could go to Santa Clara, where I believe you have an individual that's actually playing now. Baylor is where a lot of this kind of got started. Louisville is looking to activate London Johnson, who has played in the G League as well. So this is not Alabama going off and doing this on their own. This precedent has been set and is attempting to be set at a couple other places. TJ Clark at Ole Miss has committed from the G League. And there are a lot of different ways to look at this. But when you see it on its surface, Greg, what do you think about kind of what's happening with college basketball right now? Not just this situation, but kind of in general in which this situation is involved.
Across the board, I don't like it at all. At all. I don't think they're – because here's the problem. It doesn't do it. Remove Alabama, remove Ole Miss, remove Louisville, remove all the schools that are involved in this scenario. What we're talking about is a guy that decided to bet on himself, a guy that decided to forego his eligibility in an effort to become a professional athlete. Totally get that. That is your right. That is your right to pursue what you think is in your best interest. I support that. But there should be no do-overs if you make the wrong decision. Like for those that are coming out and in a normal profession, you don't get to go back and do it all over again if you make the wrong decision. I mean, this is not real world. This is not, I mean, don't get me wrong. I get very much why guys want to come back now because of NIL and rev share and all the additional monetary considerations that are part of the discussion. We looked up yesterday, Bediako's making what, $50,000 a year from the Squadron, thereabouts?
I think somewhere in there, yeah.
We don't know the exact specifics, but let's call it 100. Let's double it. Who cares? It doesn't really matter. Probably going to be more in college if you look at the high level players. But once you decide to roll the dice, it's over. If I walk into a casino and I put all my chips on black on roulette and it comes up red, I don't get to go back to the dealer and say, hey, give me my chips back. I didn't know it was going to be red. I should get another chance. Like, no, you rolled the dice and you lost.
I would love some mulligans on my hits in blackjack.
Yeah, I don't think Scotty Scheffler gets to go up to a rules official and say, hey, man, like, there's mud on my ball, and it flew the ball way to the right and kind of knuckled off. I didn't know it was going to do that. Let me hit it again because I know now it's more predictable what the ball is going to do once I make contact with it. Like, you don't get that second chance. Like, I guess that's what makes me uncomfortable is, okay, you decided to forego your eligibility. You decided to go pro, and now you get another shot? Like, it just makes me uncomfortable, man. I do think that I understand challenging eligibility rules and all this other stuff. I get that. But goodness gracious, it just feels uncomfortable, doesn't it?
It does. And here are some of the things that you're going to hear around this is not drafted, number one. Bad advice, number two, as you've kind of gone into and alluded to just a little bit. That'll be discussed.
Sure.
The 5-year window is something that is going to be discussed here because he would still be inside that.
Right.
So
that's the clock.
Right. A couple of different aspects and different ways this is going to be discussed and talked about. I would be in line with you that just in general don't like this at all. And I'm not just talking about Bediako in Alabama. I'm talking about all of it, all of them.
Correct.
As you've stated, if you decide to move on and go do something else, you're foregoing. When you enter the NBA draft, the NFL draft, now baseball's a little bit of a different deal with kind of how it works and being drafted and not necessarily having to go play and
your slot.
Then you can be drafted again. Like there's a lot to that. But
correct.
Specifically in basketball and football, when you enter, I mean, part of the terms in doing that is you forego the rest of your eligibility. That's what it has been. That's how it's stated. So no, I don't like it, but I'm also not mad at Alabama for doing it because multiple teams have already done it. Kids have already played. So why would you not? I have great fears as to what doors we're opening after this is being done. And I do think there's a part of Greg Burns is probably looking at this and saying, if we ever want to shut this down, once it happens with somebody like us, that's when everybody's eyes are going to be open. But we'll take advantage of it now if you're going to allow us to do it. So it's a weird deal, and it's one that I'll tell you the part of it that I think we need to have a discussion on when we come back, Greg, is what's this going to do to your locker room?
Yeah, it's so strange. I can't even imagine. But that's the thing. It's like it's not illegal for Indiana to play older players. It's not right now. The court ruled that it's allowed. Is it uncomfortable? Yeah. Do I like that it happens across the country? No, I don't at all. I think it's really uncomfortable, and I don't think it's a good thing in the long term for the sport.
We'll get your thoughts on it. Continue the discussion next right here on Jocks.